Bring Her Back is a wholesome family comedy about family and family-related things. Things such as playing with the family pets, lunchtime snacks, a summertime swim on a sunny day,
The lie detector test determined that was a lie. The lie detector test is bunk.
Okay, wow, super cool, you got me. Here's the truth. Bring Her Back is a brutal and depressing film about the cyclical and all-consuming nature of grief. It is a film about loss. It is a film about desperation. It is a film about gaslighting. But you know, like real gaslighting, not the kind you learned about on TikTok from someone who claims their birth name is like Moon Zephyr.
My name is Moon Zephyr, not Moon, not Zephyr, Beth. Now, let me tell you all about how I made love to my yoga instructor during a very stressful time in my life because the barista gave me oat milk instead of almond milk, and how my girlfriend tried to emotionally tox me and make it all about her. I was the barista.
Now, if you want to skip the context because you're part of the anti-context lobby or because you already fully know the plot, you can skip to the juicy stuff at the timestamp. Just hit the juicy stuff button. Juicy stuff part 1 is the good, juicy stuff part 2 is the bad. You're welcome. Just, you know, I better not catch you complaining when things don't make sense. Also, if you want to help this video, hit the buttons. Thank you, I love you. Before we begin, it's important to note this is not a disingenuous hate fest. This is not anti-woke slop. This is not nitpick, pretend you're the smartest person in the room under the guise of comedy, CinemaSin-style analysis. 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 Analyze. All of that is analyze. This is genuine criticism from both my own technical and emotional perspective that will hopefully be useful in both my writing and the writing of others, as well as for entertainment and curiosity purposes. Again, I do stress these are my opinions, they are not infallible. However, I do believe they are good, solid opinions that hold up under the weight of at least some scrutiny. It's also important to note that if you agree or disagree with my hot, sticky takes, you let me know in the comments below. It is finally important to provide the required context in order to discuss the film. You know, for the people who randomly click on the video without having watched the film in the first place. Let me just say, you are fascinating. I love you for your curiosity. You're like my nightmares. You keep the lights on. It makes sense if you think about it. Plot speed run for context, let's go! After the traumatizing death of their father, Andy and Piper are put into the foster care system where they are taken in by Laura, a former social worker. Piper is mostly blind, though she can see vague shapes and colors. Laura's daughter, Kathy, was also blind. Kathy drowned in Laura's pool. Laura would give anything to have Kathy call her mom again. She would give anything to ... bring her back. Laura has another child living with her named Oliver. Oliver initially presents as someone who has a severe mental disability, but we eventually learned he is possessed by a demonic entity. Not only is he possessed by a demonic entity, but Laura is the one who put it in him based off of a ritual she learned from a creepy VHS tape. Not only did she put a demonic entity inside of him, which definitely counts as a huge violation of personal space, but she also kidnapped him. That is not her child. Oliver isn't even his real name. It's like Timothy or Braden or some shit. Connor. It's Connor. His name is Connor. Laura did this as part of a resurrection ritual, which I will detail later. Laura spends the film gaslighting Andy, psychologically tormenting him, culminating in her punching a sleeping Piper in the face and blaming it on Andy in an effort to get rid of him. Andy convinces his social worker Wendy to conduct a welfare call. Wendy discovers the horror taking place at Laura's home, so Laura murders both her and Andy, then begins to finalize the ritual, attempting to drown Piper in the pool while the rain falls. Piper utters the word mum, causing Laura to release her. Piper escapes and is rescued by a passing car. Connor wanders off beyond the containment lines, freeing the demon from his body, and as the police arrive, Laura grieves in the pool, holding the somewhat consumed corpse of her dead child, the end. Now, before I talk about the things I hated about this movie, I'll talk about the two things I think this movie does really, really well. Number 1, the imagery in the film is gorgeous, haunting, and depressing. The uses of violence and ritual both help create an effective aesthetic that helps highlight the themes and mood of the movie. Imagery that stands out in particular are most scenes with Oliver, especially ones displaying his ever-growing hunger. Him holding the cat, consuming the knife, consuming the table. Oliver is a walking manifestation of grief and its all-consuming nature. And let's not forget the circles of it all. Circles on circles on circles. Grief is a... Number 2, the lore. I really like the lore in Talk to Me, and since that film was made by the same people, I'm happy to see them leaning more and more into that strength. Bring Her Back manages to create a solidly believable world of dark alchemical alchemical magic and demonicism beyond the one we see every day, which is one of my favorite genres of storytelling. People discovering things they were never meant to discover, a world that has been and should be kept from our weak little mortal brains. Before the events of the film, Laura's daughter dies, and Laura procures a VHS tape that demonstrates a resurrection ritual. Now, we're not told how she procured it, and we don't need to be told. Mystery can be fun when done right, and here it is done right. If we did know the origins of the tape or how she procured it, the story itself wouldn't change. It doesn't detract from the logic of the story. Also, sometimes that mystery just adds to the creep factor. Now, the VHS shows the ritual as follows. Step 1, you possess someone with a demon, probably someone innocent. Step 2, you feed the demon the corpse of the person you lost because, as Laura mentions during the funeral scene, the soul purportedly lingers in the corpse after death like the smell of reheated Thai food in your studio apartment. This is further confirmed each time Oliver consumes part of another being and takes on their voice, i.e. the cat, Andy and Piper's dad's hair, Andy himself. Number 3, you kill the vessel that you want to fill with the spirit of the person you lost in the same way that they died. Number 4, the demon will vomit up the flesh they devoured into the mouth of your chosen vessel until they're nice and full like Thanksgiving at your parents' house. Number 5, thank you for the res. Now, it's not confirmed whether or not the resurrection actually works, since we only see a messy recording of the process in the VHS, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Why don't you put a pen in that? You know, people like Bring Her Back. It has good reviews, and when I looked through the bad reviews, some were genuine critiques, but others were just upset that the subject matter in an upsetting horror movie was upsetting. Which sounds silly when phrased like that, but it can be a valid critique, just not here. The upsetting subject matter is necessary for showing the desperation that overwhelming grief can make you feel, and telling the story the writers wanted to tell. It was also necessary for the heightened metaphoric horror children can experience when navigating the foster care system, specifically when someone takes you in not because they want to help and care for you, but because they want you for their own nefarious reasons. Now that I've laid out all the positives, let's go into where this movie fails for me. Let's talk about my issues, Mr. Therapist, because ranting at the internet is cheaper than real therapy. Issue number 1, character logic. Issue 1, example 1, invasion of privacy. At one point, Andy is texting someone on his phone, making disparaging comments about Oliver. During this scene, Laura is trying to see what's on Andy's phone. Andy gets upset, snatching the phone away. This is one of the many red flags at the red flag department store. At this point, a normal person with a functioning brain would lock their phone, especially a teenager, especially a teenager who is typing up disparaging comments about a child in front of their de facto parent. Especially when that teenager wants to make sure he doesn't provoke any reports from said parent back to his social worker that could put a strain on his chances to adopt his sister once he turns 18. I would lock my phone, you would lock your phone, my great-great-grandmother would lock her phone, and she died before cell phones were invented. We would all lock our phones in a chittering chorus of bug-like clicks. Andy, however, genius that he is, leaves his phone open and places it down screen up during Laura's aggressive prodding so he can walk across the room and respond to his sister who is yelling at him from the other side of a wall. It's like a demon was puppeting him, pulling his strings from the sky, forcing him to walk across the room, making it happen. That demon was the writers. It's so strange to watch once you notice.
Just a friend.
So what are you talking about?
Nothing.
Your dad?
No.
Hey, I'm a counsellor. People pay to talk to me, you know?
Yeah, you okay? Hey, Laura!
Get my phone. What are you doing? So Oliver's a fucking weirdo, is he?
He could have just talked from where he was sitting, but he doesn't because the writers want this scene to happen. They are force fucking it down my throat like, you know what? I'll just leave the perverse metaphor face up on the bed. Just like Andy left it. So Laura obviously picks up the phone. She reads the message. He gets aggressive. Okay, now you care? You left your phone face up and unlocked. Please, Laura, read my messages about how fucking weird I think your son is. Now I feel like he did it on purpose just to be angry. At this point, I could write a whole essay framing the two kids as the villains. I mean, honestly, Laura is just a hardworking woman, a mother doing what she needs to do to protect her children at this point.
That's what every mother does.
These kids deserve whatever's coming to them. That's all I'm gonna say. This scene ends with Laura saying, like, wow, you think Oliver is a fucking weirdo or whatever? And to be fair, He kinda is, but you won't hear me defending Andy beyond this point. He's the villain. He's the villain here. Anyway, nothing happens as a result of this. I'm assuming it was written to be mind game style abuse aimed at Andy in order to get him out of the house so Laura can have Piper to herself, but I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. It was dishonest. Listen, I'm okay with a character being stupid, but they have to be believably stupid, and it has to be done with so much care. There's such a narrow tightrope you walk when you want to use a character's stupidity to create tension or to move a plot forward. Off the top of my head, it could work as a primary character flaw with an associated character arc, or to retroactively show that a character isn't as intelligent as they think they are. This, however, isn't just stupid. This is something no one would ever do.
Oh, it makes me mad just thinking about it.
Man, I wouldn't even leave my phone unlocked like this, and I could give a fuck less if you see my alpha dom daddy porn. I just like my privacy, and I don't want you to steal my informations. Who is the person who would do this? I need their psychological profile. Probably the people who respond to the Nigerian prince emails with their credit card information. So I guess possibly maybe a real person, but not compelling to watch. Sorry, that was offensive to the people who respond to Nigerian prince emails with their credit card information. They wouldn't even do this. To fix this, all they had to do was make Laura read the messages the first time she peeked over at his phone to make it even more aggressive, antagonistic, and gaslighty. She could have snatched the phone right out of his hand after peeking at it. He still gets aggressive with her. She tells him she snatched the phone because she saw her son's name. He apologizes for being aggressive. She still notes that he called Oliver a weirdo. Andy apologizes again, blaming himself. Issue 1, Example 2, Lunchtime Snack. Now, we should talk about the fact that Laura left her demon-possessed child, the metaphorical key to her daughter's resurrection, alone with a teenager she just met. A teenager she is psychologically abusing, which is every red flag on aisle 5 at the red flag department store. But funnily enough, still not the biggest issue here. It's still a pretty big issue. It doesn't make any sense for Laura's character. I don't know why she would ever do that, ever risk that, considering what's at stake. But again, I'm digressing. Not the biggest issue. Still an issue, but not the biggest. The biggest issue with this scene is Andy the super genius serves Oliver a piece of fruit that he's probably allergic to on a giant fucking kitchen knife and just gives it to the kid. A kid who, if we didn't know was possessed, would be suffering from a severe intellectual disability. Then Andy turns his fucking back on the child. Obviously, like most normal, well-adjusted children, Oliver then attempts to eat the knife, which, despite what you might think, doesn't go very well. He's just really chewing on that thing, just chewing on. Maybe Andy doesn't need to have custody of his sister. If this is how he plans on taking care of her, she might be better off with the psycho freak who wants to use her as a meat vessel for her dead little girl. You say murder, I say help become a new person. Which honestly, based on this and future arguments, it's probably for the best. We will get into it. I know this was probably done to instigate Oliver to leave the circle around the property that's meant to contain the demon, but there were better ways to do this, ways that don't make Andy look like a fucking plank of wood. I mean, have him chase a second cat across the line in his hunger, or a raccoon, or a meth-hungry burglar. If you also wanted the violence, have him pick up and eat anything that would cause serious physical harm. He eats a fucking countertop. He could have stolen the knife. Clearly he has no morals or palate. The characters don't have to be this stupid for the plot to happen. Issue 1, Example 3. Don't call 911, he's just teething. So, after the previous scene, Oliver is left a bloody mess. He crosses the binding circle and Connor, Oliver's physical host, begins to reject the demon, convulsing, screaming, and begging for help. Laura arrives just in time to carry him to her room and deal with him in secret. In this scene, Andy and Piper should both be able to tell there's something a little weird going on, something a little peculiar. I would say something's off, like too much salt in the spaghetti, but it's more like broken glass in the spaghetti. And rattlesnakes as well, instead of noodles, probably. Andy, he knows the child is grievously injured. He's 100% responsible for the injuries, yet he doesn't call 911, or, you know, whatever the equivalent is in that country. They don't find it even like the least bit suspicious or worrisome, concerning at all in the slightest bit that Laura isn't taking Oliver to the hospital. I guess we briefly get Piper asking Laura if she should call an ambulance, and I guess Andy does meekly ask if they should take him in, but that's it. Then they just kind of clap the dust off their hands about the whole thing. The two of them don't even discuss what actually happened. Now, I guess this in some way could be explained on Andy's side for fear of Laura reporting negative things to his social worker, compromising his future future custody of Piper. But if Andy's biggest concern is protecting Piper, clearly this situation poses a much more present threat. Although, what the fuck is Laura gonna tell them? She's not gonna tell the police the truth that she left a mentally handicapped child with another child that she just met so she could go take a stroll. What? This movie is gut fucking my suspension of disbelief with a number 2 pencil. Also, I know Piper is blind, but she is way too casual about the heightened tension and context clues. A supposedly mute child screaming as Laura plays early aughts alt pop.
Sorry, darling, it's alright. It's okay.
She's even invited into Laura's room and acts a little too chill for my liking, not even questioning what happened, just asking if he's sick. Does this sound like a casual sickness to you? Example 4, I smell a man in my room. Okay, I promise that's not a cry for help. Laura smothers herself with Andy's body spray like it's a high school locker room in order to frame him when she punches a sleeping Piper in the face. Piper does actually seem to side with Laura in this scene against the last living member of her family, someone whose only goal, admittedly out of guilt, is to protect her, and she sides with the clearly unstable stranger despite all the context clues thus far. A stranger she's known for like what, days? I'm tired, man.
Come on, Piper, guy. Grapefruit, Piper. It's okay.
Example 5, abandonment issues. Also, does it not concern Piper that Laura is leaving her disabled child alone while she takes her to fucking goalball practice? Hello? Is anybody in there? Piper is partially missing her sight, not partially missing her frontal lobe. What's going on here? It's not just Piper, though. It's both Andy and Piper. Neither of them had anything to say about Oliver being left behind when they went to their dad's funeral. Not even a question or concern. A comment under their breath in passing? I guess you could fix this by Laura forcing them to go to the funeral first, saying she's waiting for the babysitter, that she will meet up with them later. Then we get an image of her locking Oliver up in a room alone, clearly indicating to the audience something we already know. Something weird is going on. And when she takes Piper to goalball practice, she could just lie and say, hey, the babysitter's already here. Piper's blind, and also she's not the smartest crayon in the popcorn bucket. But again, I don't even know if Laura would leave Oliver alone until the ritual was over, unless absolutely necessary. Example 6, the voicemail.
Who are you calling?
Laura.
No, Wendy. No, she might have Piper. Please.
Okay, so why the fuck would Andy leave a heartfelt voicemail on his sister's phone exposing his intentions to expose Laura's intentions while he's on his way to expose Laura's intentions? A voicemail that Laura could listen to, a voicemail that Laura does listen to. It's because he's a slobbering moron and the writers just wanted Piper to be able to listen to the voicemail at the end of the film and have this deep emotional moment, which I just did not feel. And also to create make-believe tension, which I also did not feel. And again, you can make stupid characters, but the plot and tension should not depend on a character being stupid, unless said stupidity is something that the plot attempts to address. This is another thing that I would cut out altogether, and when I make my own ending later in the video, you'll understand why. You know, it's like this really interesting and thoughtful plot is tied together with really bad, thoughtless character logic, just a bunch of idiots bumbling about as things happened around them. Even the smart character has strawberry jelly brain, and I'm sure it's good on toast, just not in a movie. Wait, do I think this is a bad movie? But I like bad movies. Why do I hate this movie so much? Is it because I only like bad movies when they're fun, and this movie's subject matter and tone is so depressing and uninviting that without well thought out internal logic, it creates a violent dissonance that my brain rejects, like trying to see colors that don't exist? Oh god, this is madness. This is eldritch horror. This is the true terror of the film. Issue number 2, the ending. The ending, as mentioned before, sees Laura attempting to drown Piper in the rain, recreating the events of her daughter Kathy's death in order to resurrect her. However, Piper says the word mum causing Laura to release her. This was set up in Laura's drunken conversation with Andy, where she said, "I would give anything to hear her call me mum again." I say set up, but this was less a thoughtful construction and more so held up with a magnet on the fridge. This ending fails both in terms of theme and narrative logic. Okay, so why is it thematically bad? As I said, the more fun a movie is, the more I can accept plot holes and bent logic, though, even then, I do have to admit I have my limits. When it comes to Bring Her Back, the movie is an exercise in misery. There is no fun, not even the fun of being scared. Now, I don't need a happy ending. I love things with dark and bittersweet endings, but I do need to say depressing does not automatically mean good. But when something is thoroughly depressing, trying to take its heavy themes seriously, the movie should have an even deeper adherence to logical and thematic elements than something more lighthearted. The ending here, however, does not adhere to either logic or theme. It's an ending that says nothing. It says Laura is sad, which we already know. We've known it the whole film. Clearly she's sad. She's keeping her dead daughter's remains in the meat freezer and abusing children just to get her daughter back. There isn't any actual lasting statement being made, with Laura holding on to her daughter in the pool at the end of the film. She's been metaphorically holding on to her daughter the whole time, which is a strong poetic statement in and of itself. However, it says nothing about the themes of grief beyond what has already been said. It doesn't even emphasize said themes further. For me, it didn't make an impact. It didn't leave me with a final punch to the gut, which in my opinion, I think is one of the strongest things horror movies like this can do, to leave you with some final image or feeling beyond what we've already seen, something lasting. I'm sure it stuck with some people. It is a depressing image, but again, the ending itself is kind of meaningless. Why is it meaningless, you ask? When I try to argue out the meaning of the ending, I come across a lot of poor thematic and logical arguments. If I try to argue that Laura finally accepts her daughter's death in this moment, that doesn't work either logically or thematically, because Laura is aware her daughter is dead the whole film. She doesn't need to accept it. The film's entire premise is Laura fully understanding her daughter is dead, but rejecting the very idea that death will keep her daughter. If the ending is not about her finally accepting her daughter's death, which it can't be because she harbors a demon that she fully believes can resurrect her daughter, then it must be about Laura changing her mind, realizing the cost has been too great. But if that were the case, there should have been a significant showing of the horrific realization at the things she had done in her attempt to bring her daughter back. One way to do this would be for Laura to attempt to give Andy CPR. Even if it would do nothing, it would show instant regret as the primary motivator for why she stopped the process. To further emphasize this, she could have even walked Oliver over the edge of the circle to release Connor. Then the last moments of the film could be her driving him to the hospital with the final close-up on the corpse of her daughter alone and abandoned. This would be a clear, icy cold image that would thematically show her change of heart and still give the depressing ending the writers seem to have in mind. Beyond this, the ending also doesn't work because the character logic in this moment makes zero sense. This all hinges upon the setup, aka the magnet on the fridge, of Laura saying she would give anything to hear Kathy call her mum again.
I'd give anything to hear her call me mum one more time.
This is a problem for the following reasons. Reason number one, Piper calls her mum when she's being drowned. Why does Piper do this? She wasn't awake for the conversation where Laura admitted to Andy her desperation to hear Kathy call her mum. She doesn't know that this would have any effect on Laura. She doesn't feel that Laura is her mother. The only real answer is that this is just a plot contrivance that happens to force fuck the ending the writers wanted. That's why I say it's a fridge magnet setup. Trying to hold up your plot by using a setup that has no narrative logic is completely meaningless. There is no thoughtful construction. Now, if Laura would have admitted that to Piper instead of Andy, this scene would have been a lot less contrived, not only because there would have been a genuine reason for Piper to call her mum, but it would also give Piper agency. Besides the sloppy contrivance here, it also continues the issue of Piper being a complete moron with no frontal lobe, just a vessel for whatever the writers want to happen. Reason number two, even in the event we did fix the logic for Piper saying mum, Laura would probably not have stopped. If anything, hearing Piper call her mum would push her even further to get her daughter back. Judging by her character, it seems like it would only serve to make her more angry and also give her the additional motivation, the idea that Piper calling her mum is not currently her daughter calling her mum, but it will be. Let's not forget, Laura is an unhinged and unstable individual. She has kidnapped and destroyed a child before she even meets Andy and Piper. She takes away Connor's free will and allows him to be horribly physically mutilated. Beyond that, Laura abuses Andy in multiple and cruel ways, including feeding the child whose life she destroyed the hair of Andy's father to further psychologically assault Andy. She also, in a very cold-blooded way, killed her ex-coworker with a fucking car, then drowns Andy while he's injured and defenseless. At this point in the story, Laura is so hyped on desperation, violence, and adrenaline for a moment that she's been planning out for months. There is almost nothing in this universe that will psychologically stop her. She can only be stopped by physical force. I just don't see this person, as she's been presented to us, giving up. There's also no coming back from the things she's done. Any idea to the contrary is silly. Not only does she operate as someone with nothing to lose, she has less and less to lose as the film goes on. She has committed cruelty after cruelty with a sober mind. Now she's at her most unhinged, and you expect me to believe she'll stop because Piper, who is barely a person, chokes out the word mom? Sorry, no way, nope. So how do we fix both the failed logic of the final scene as well as strengthen its thematic elements? I'm sure there are plenty of other ways to do this, but here's my ending. Laura does have a conversation with Piper where she admits her desperation to hear Kathy call her mum again. This would give Piper the necessary knowledge, so her saying mum will make more narrative sense. Piper does call Laura mum while she's being drowned, giving Piper agency in the film. However, Laura fucking loses it, becoming more violent, shoving Piper underwater with even more force, crying and screaming, "You're not my daughter," over and over again. Piper dies violently. Laura drags Piper's corpse out of the water as she continues to mumble the words under her strained breath. "You're not my daughter. You're not my daughter." Laura makes some space between her and the body, sitting on the ground exhausted, legs pulled up to her chest. Oliver creeps up from the shadows and vomits Kathy into Piper's mouth as the rain stops. A dense post-rain fog obscures as nothing happens. The fog becomes more dense, almost as if there is a wall between Laura and the corpse. And then the body twitches. The camera focuses on Laura's face, her eyes wide with tears. The music and ambient noise dulls and quiets. All we hear is the growing beat of Laura's heart. Then, a guttural, inhuman voice groans a single word. Mom. Cut to black, you're welcome. I think this ending works more because it emphasizes the grander themes of grief and its all-consuming nature, a trail of bodies left in its wake, making a strong final statement that death must be accepted, lest it endlessly consume. This ending is more frightening as well because we see through the demonic voice saying mum that there is no getting Kathy back. This ritual preys on grief to give the demon a true body through extreme sacrifice, one that doesn't limit it to the confines of a small circle. You could even add in a final line. "Feed me, mum." With the demon asking Laura to feed it, that would further drive the point, insinuating that Laura will be eaten next, the final thing consumed by grief. The thing that's been eating her the entire film, taking one final bite. Thank you for sticking around to the end. If you want to help the video do well, watch another one of my videos right after this one. Leave a comment for the algo, hit that like button, hit that bell, hit that hype button when I finally get it, hit that subscription, share if you know someone who's into shit like this. Never undercome, only overcome, shoot high, and expect to miss. Thank you. I love you. Good night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're gonna love it. Do it. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Do it. So good.
Well, it's time. I'm subscribing.
Excellent.